Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Trump administration orders temporary closure of USAID. Prime Minister addresses concerns regarding new social housing program. And later in sports, Jamaica loses Davis Cup Group 2 clash to New Zealand. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kerry-Ann Simpson. Here are the details. We begin with reactions to news from the United States that the Trump administration has temporarily closed the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. President Donald Trump says he will decide the future of USAID after removing the people who currently run the agency. The decision has left several programs funded by USAID in Jamaica and globally in limbo. Shane Masters has our first report.
What we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a ball of worms. If you've got an apple and it's got a worm in it, maybe you can take the worm out. But if you've got actually just a ball of worms, it's hopeless. And USAID is a ball of worms.
That was Elon Musk, the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, talking about USAID. Now, local civil society organizations, which are directly funded through the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, are pondering the future of their operations after news came today that the agency is on the cusp of being shuttered by the Trump administration. The blow comes days after the U.S. government ordered a 90-day pause to all foreign aid pending a review of efficiencies and consistency with Donald Trump's foreign policy. That decision has already negatively affected the aid groups, with many contemplating how staff will be paid and their continued function. Among the civil society groups in limbo are E for Life, Jamaica Aid Support for Life, Rise Life Management, and the Jamaica Network of Seropositives. When contacted for comments, the groups indicated that they have been placed under gag orders since the Trump administration's announcement of the foreign aid pause. However, former ambassador to the United Nations Curtis Ward says the move by the Trump administration raises numerous questions. One such is if the president is able to change the operations of USAID through an executive order.
We expected, based on the provisions of Project 2025, that the USAID would be recognized not as a soft power part of U.S. foreign policy, but to coerce governments around the world who benefit from USAID to bend significantly to an America First foreign policy, meaning supporting President Trump's policies across the board.
In the meantime, attorney at law and public affairs commentator Dwight Bernard says there seems to be no clear direction for the Trump administration as it relates to foreign policy.
I'm curious to see how they continue along this line, because I noticed that both Israel and Egypt still get to keep their aid while they review everybody else's aid. So I'm just want to see where their direction they are going and what is the end game, because I think that what I'm seeing is that it is changing by the day. There is no clear objective, there is no clear direction. They're just making it up as they go along.
Shane Masters, TVJ News.
A response from Prime Minister Andrew Holness about delays in the delivery of some homes under the new social housing program. He addressed the issue in St. James over the weekend. Shamila Pullen reports.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he has received several reports about the challenges faced by beneficiaries of the social housing program who have been experiencing delays. Mr. Holness says he recognizes that some individuals have been displaced as a result of the setback, causing significant hardship. He pointed to media reports about 2 houses which were not completed on time.
The government of Jamaica, and indeed myself, we are very sympathetic and understand the issues that would arise for persons who are waiting on their houses to be built, but there are delays. And we move as quickly as we can to have those resolved. And indeed, in the instant cases that have been raised, we are moving as quickly as we can to have those beneficiaries get their houses as quickly as possible.
Mr. Holness says despite establishing clear guidelines for contracting and hiring contractors through a competitive bidding process, the government continues to encounter issues.
There's no guarantee that having entered into a contract for the construction of a house, that the contractors will deliver on time. Generally, contractors have delivered on a timely basis in this program. However, for example, this house that we are handing over, we have had to terminate 2 contractors and go back again to the market to find a 3rd contractor to complete this house.
But he says as the program's effectiveness is evaluated, various factors will be considered.
The social housing program, sometimes it would appear that there is an attempt to portray the program unfairly and unnecessarily in a bad light. And I say this because it is well known and should be well understood that the government of Jamaica does not itself build houses. The government of Jamaica would not itself set out not to finish the houses as quickly as possible. That would not be in our interest.
Meanwhile, Mr. Holness assured the 2 beneficiaries in southern St. James that the houses will be finished by the end of this month. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The opposition continues to blast the government over what it says is a tough life for majority of Jamaicans. The PNP says while the macroeconomic space has improved, the day-to-day living of the lower economic class of society has not seen any significant changes. Addressing party supporters in Northwest St. Catherine last evening, Damian Crawford, who was unveiled as the party's candidate, noted some of the pain points for Jamaicans.
What they mean when they say we shall overcome. For some people, they have a 1 in 36 chance of eating, because if cash pot no make dog follow puss, some people can't buy dinner. I don't think that this is what they meant by we shall overcome. For people in a pain, they're on a waiting list for 9 months, 10 months before they can get a surgery.
And over in Central Kingston, the PNP is banking on Steve McGregor.
Central Kingston, Labour right and PNP alike love Steve McGregor. So don't care where you hear them say, the seat gone. A PNP seat that.
The general elections are constitutionally due in September. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for St. Catherine Southern Fitz Jackson says the PNP will not sit by and let the Holness-led government dictate what should happen with Portmore. The government on Tuesday tabled a bill for the Counties and Towns Amendment Act 2025, setting the stage for Portmore's elevation to parish status. The bill proposes changes to Section 3 of the Act, incorporating what would become the island's 15th parish into the county of Middlesex, while Section 4 would outline its specific boundaries. It also seeks to amend Section 5 of the Local Governance Act to facilitate the establishment of the Portmore Municipal Corporation. The MP for Southern St. Catherine has been hitting out at the parish status, stating that the move is only for political will. But on Sunday night, Mr. Jackson said further steps will be taken.
Administration that you can't take with repreke. You must respect the people. So we're going to go in the street to show that we're serious. And we're going to do another thing. And we are well prepared for it. If they should proceed as they are going. And the day after the GG signed that act into law, lawyers on behalf of the People's National Party will be in the courts of Jamaica to make sure that the Constitution that has been breached is respected.
The St. Elizabeth Police Division continues to reap success with various intervention programs and has promised to ramp up efforts to do more. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police Superintendent Coolidge Minto says the division continues to focus on safety and security. Speaking at a recent handover service of 2 service vehicles to the Silo and Lacovia police stations, Superintendent Minto hailed the community for their continued partnership with the police.
I wish to express how vital your partnership is in this journey. We rely on the collective effort of everyone to create and foster an environment where safety and security can thrive. Your collaboration is essential, and together we can build a safer and stronger community for all of us.
The commanding officer also revealed that for 2025, the division will be increasing its intervention programs in various communities.
Through the initiatives such as the police youth clubs, neighborhood watch, community walkthroughs, our school safety program, our monthly church services, and other initiatives under the community safety and security arm of the division.
Superintendent Minto also shared progress made by the police last year, which led to a significant decrease in major crimes.
Across the St. Elizabeth division, however, in 2024, the Domestic Violence Center intervened in 871 cases. And this is a 5% increase from 829 persons who attended the center the previous year.
In the meantime, the commanding officer is reminding service members of their responsibility in caring for the new vehicles. And it's time for a break. Stay with us, more local stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. CEO of the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, Shane Dalling, says talks are underway to address the issue of weapon storage for licensed firearm holders, especially those seeking to travel overseas.
Even if you build 1,000 space there, you may have a situation where you have 1,200 and we still can't take it. But currently the space that is there is woefully inadequate. And what we are seeking to do for the convenience of persons who are leaving the country, especially those who may have to come in late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night, weekends, where the FLA is closed, for example, that you'll be able to collect your weapon and traverse going home. So we are working on that.
And as for persons attending parties where firearms are not allowed,
the law now grants the FLA the responsibility to designate locations at the event for collection of firearms. And we have been doing that. Since we have, for all the parties over the Christmas holiday, we have authorized locations beside the venue or close by where persons can leave their firearms, attend and collect before leaving.
The St. Mary Police continue to crack down on vehicle theft with another major recovery this morning in the Belfield area. While conducting mobile patrol duties, a team from the Belfield Police Station discovered a partially scrapped 2019 grey Toyota Corolla Axio motor car, which had been reported stolen on Thursday, January 30 at the Port Maria Police Station. The vehicle was recovered at a location in Belfield known as Belfield Works in Bushes and has been taken in for processing. Now, this is the 4th stolen vehicle recovered in St. Mary within a week. It's now time for the Business Minute.
Financial analyst Ralston Hyman has reacted to recent comments made by Jamaica Bankers Association President Audrey Tugwell Henry on the ongoing interest rate saga. She told the recent gathering of the Jamaica Stock Exchange that banks are unable to make adjustments at this time because they're heavily taxed by the government. Mrs. Tugwell Henry says the only way the reductions can be passed on is if the government reduces some of those other taxes, such as the corporate tax. But Mr. Hyman says that's not feasible at this time.
The banks have been making money from when the benchmark rate was 0.5% to 7%. So we reject that argument. They cannot be allowed to hold the country hostage. We need to get the banks to respond to the BOJ's initiatives because, as we said before, the BOJ is running out of policy room because the Federal Reserve Board is going to be on pause for a long time, as the chairman says, until they assess the inflationary impacts of Trump's immigration and trade policies.
Further afield, America's top trade partners say they're planning retaliatory tariffs while trying to stop the ones President Donald Trump is set to impose. He plans to force US-based companies to pay 25% extra on imports from Canada and Mexico. The number is 10% for Canadian energy products and Chinese goods. Some economists say US households would spend about $2,600 more annually under the plan. Mr. Trump acknowledges potential pain, but says it will be worth it for the end result. He says he wants to reduce trade deficits and secure US borders. Now, the US president is expected to meet with the leaders of Canada and Mexico today. For the Business Minute, I'm Shane Masters.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown is accusing some CARICOM nations of prioritizing their own economic advantages while neglecting the needs of smaller member states like Antigua and Barbuda. Prime Minister Brown highlighted the disparity in trade benefits among CARICOM nations, emphasizing that while some countries like Trinidad and Tobago have reaped substantial economic rewards from regional trade agreements, smaller nations have largely become consumer markets with limited production capacity. He argued that this imbalance undermines the intended spirit of CARICOM's economic cooperation. On the international scene, the main office of the U.S. Agency for International Development in Washington was unexpectedly closed Monday, and workers emailed shortly after midnight that they should not come in. In a copy of the email obtained by CNN, it noted that at the direction of agency leadership, the headquarters building will be closed to agency personnel on Monday, February 3. It's the latest sign for the longtime international aid agency, which has found itself in the crosshairs of President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's effort to reform the federal government. And at least 15 people, 14 of them women, were killed in a car bomb attack on a vehicle transporting agricultural workers in northern Syria. Another 15 women were wounded by the blast. This is the deadliest blast since rebel forces overthrew President Bashar al-Assad in December. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Kalisha Williams.
And we head to another break. When we come back, we'll have Midday Sports.